Action Comics number 19 takes place 1 year before the rest of the DC universe. Clark Kent and Lois Lane are covering a conflict in the Middle East. At their hotel bar, Lois even seems to make a move on Clark before he is called away. As Superman, he is forced to fight some highly advanced mech units. He does his best to battle them back, but they put up a good fight. Of course, being the most powerful being on the planet, he destroys a lot of them. Clark is surprised when one of the pilots appears to be Jimmy Olsen, but before he can investigate further, the pilot's body explodes. The scene then shifts to Lex Luthor. He is being evaluated by a psychiatrist who tells him that although he is a genius, he is also a sociopath. He then tells his current plan to one of his henchmen. He used the conflict in the Middle East and the mechs as a distraction. His goal is to rewrite Superman's DNA at a molecular level. Later in Metropolis, Superman is flying during his patrol when he suddenly crashes into the ground. He looks and realizes that his hand is changing. Superman is concerned that the change is spreading.
When I see Superman's hand turn green from this change that Lex Luthor employed, I cannot help but feel, my God, he wasted it. He had this ability to change Superman's DNA, and he chooses to do something that's so obvious. He could have changed like some small things, put some chink in his armor, do something that's a little smarter, but he goes for like the home run, I guess. He tries to hit the home run, and I think it's a huge miss.
So let's look a little bit more at Lex Luthor, since he's one of the main characters in Andy Diggle's new Action Comics. We haven't seen a lot of Lex Luthor since the New 52 started. He was kind of Brainiac's bitch in Grant Morrison's Action Comics run, and then we've seen him in prison in Superman. But what do you think of him in this issue?
I felt he was a very interesting character in this issue, specifically because he gets that exchange with the psychoanalyst, and she gives him such a direct response of what is wrong with him.
Yeah, she's like, you're a genius, but you're a sociopath. But the important thing he says is that he's going to change the world, so he's not the sociopath anymore, that he's like the hero.
Yeah, he says, if the world can't see the truth, it needs to change. I don't need to change. And that just shows so much about who Lex is.
Another reason I'm really glad that Lex Luthor is kind of the main villain is I feel like he hasn't got enough respect since the New 52 started. I think he's arguably one of the best villains in the DC universe. I would say he's right up there with Joker, but he really hasn't gotten anything in the New 52.
You mean in the terms of a event?
Or just a story of him being an actual formidable opponent to either Superman or somebody else.
Okay, I can see your point there. Lex really hasn't had time to shine yet, but I'm such a big fan of Joker, I don't know if I'd put him on the same pedestal as a villain.
I'm not necessarily saying he's better than the Joker. I'm just saying I think he's in the same league as the Joker. I don't know, what do you guys out there think? Do you guys think Lex Luthor is one of the premier villains in the DC universe, or am I over-exaggerating his importance? It's important to note that this is 1 year before the present DC, so this would be before Superman's even dating Wonder Woman.
The fact that it's 1 year in the past, it allows us to see a lot more connections with what's going on right now.
Yeah, it's definitely kind of bridged the gap between Action Comics and Superman. In this issue, we see Lois Lane, and she seems to almost make a pass at Clark Kent, which he kind of rejects. And then she, of course, rebounds on John Carroll, who we've seen her moving in with in Superman.
It's so convenient that he was standing right there. As soon as Clark leaves, bam, swoop it in.
I thought it was kind of interesting that Clark didn't go for it there. He basically said it wouldn't have worked out well. I would have only put her in danger. And I think maybe that has something to do with his kind of new origin story in the New 52. Both his parents are dead, so maybe that makes him a little bit more cautious than, before Flashpoint.
That would emphasize why he's so secure with the relationship he has with Wonder Woman, because he at least knows that she can take care of herself and that they're not really endangering each other.
Although I did find it kind of strange, because in Superman, he seems really upset that Lois her relationship has progressed so much with John Carroll. Like, he basically quits the Daily Planet. He blames journalistic integrity, but more he's just upset because he saw a text of her moving in with John Carroll. In the first issue, he was dejected when he saw him at her apartment.
So obviously, at the beginning of the Superman title, he still has these feelings for Lois Lane, but I think due to Wonder Woman, I think he's moved past that.
I'm not so sure. I mean, who knows if this whole thing with Wonder Woman will last. We've talked about it before. You're more of a fan of it. I'm not so much, but Another thing I really liked about this issue was the art. Tony Daniel did an incredible job. Some of the images in Superman were just so cool to look at. It really just made him look like the Man of Steel.
One thing I really liked was the mechs. I thought the mechs looked really interesting. Honestly, when I was reading this comic, it reminded me a lot of some really obscure anime, and so...
Well, actually, it kind of reminded me of Brainiac in the Grant Morrison's run of Action Comics, so maybe it's a little nod to that. It's kind of hard to say. But Tony Daniel did do an incredible job. The scenery was great.
And I think in a Superman title, especially, the combat needs to be very well drawn, and it really needs to emphasize the power that is incorporated into Superman. And
I completely agree, and I think Tony Daniel did that.
Yeah. So is it great for Action Comics number 19? What would you give it?
I'm going to give this issue a 4 to 5. Andy Diggle has really made me excited about Action Comics again. I kind of got a little worn down after Grant Morrison's run, so I'm looking forward more to the series in the future.
I'm going to give this issue a 3.5 out of 5. I really enjoyed the Lex Luthor moments, but in the end I was kind of disappointed by where this scheme seems to be headed.
So thanks for watching B3 Comics review of Action Comics number 19. Before we go, we got a question for you guys.
We want to know your top 5 DC villains.
Leave your answer in the comments below. Also check out the description box for our top 5.
And like always, if you like what you see, give us a thumbs up and tell your friends about us.